Welcome to the 2023 Global AI Developer Conference. My name is Moshe Vardi. I'm a professor of computer science at Rice University in Houston, Texas. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the Siren song of autonomous drivings. The Sirens were mythical creatures in Greek mythology. They used to sing so beautifully that once you heard their song, you couldn't leave. And I'm using it in a metaphorical sense. My talk is divided into 4 parts. I'll start by talking about machine learning. I'll give some background on autonomous driving. I'll talk about the reality of autonomous driving. And I'll finish by talking about artificial intelligence, AI versus intelligence augmentation, which is IA. So let's talk first about machine learning. The last decade has been, people call it the machine learning revolution. We hear about machine learning today practically every day. But important milestone was in 2016, when DeepMind developed a program AlphaGo to play the game of Go. And they beat a Korean Go master, Lee Sedol. And they took the championship. And this was considered a major accomplishment because the game of Go was for many years considered beyond the reach of computer games. Chess was already done in 1997, but the game tree for Go is much, much larger. So it's much harder to search the game tree. So AlphaGo combined 3 search techniques, but with also with search space reduction techniques that use machine learning. It digested all 100,000 published games. It played millions of games again itself. And in a nutshell, it developed intuition for playing Go. Good Go players have an intuition. What is a good position? What is a good move? And the fact that now machine learning can develop intuition provide a response to a paradox was posed in the 1960s by the philosopher Polanyi. This was known as Polanyi's paradox. How can we automate driving if we cannot explain how we drive? We know more about driving than we can tell. The skill of a driver cannot be replaced by thorough schooling in the theory of the motor car. Think of it, riding a bicycle. Can you describe how you balance yourself on a bicycle? And so how can we automate it if you cannot explain it? And now we have an answer, machine learning. Now, machine learning gave a motivation assistant to autonomous driving. Autonomous driving was a project people have dreamed of for quite a few years. In 2005, DARPA, the United States Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, had a grand challenge of autonomous driving, and a Stanford vehicle, you see it on the right, drove 131 miles in Death Valley, in the unrehearsed desert trail. That was a major accomplishment. 2 years later, there was another challenge, the DARPA Urban Challenge, and a CMU autonomous vehicle, again on the right, drove 55 miles in an urban environment while adhering to traffic hazard, traffic laws, and not causing any accident. So again, major accomplishment. And after these 2 challenges, in January 17 of 2009, Google launched a self-driving technology project. In 2016, they've reorganized, Alphabet was formed, and Waymo became a company, one of the Alphabet companies. So lots of investment since then in autonomous driving. Where did it take us? Well, we'll get there. But what is the motivation for trying to automate driving? So I actually argued myself about in 2016, there is a moral imperative of autonomous driving because the car is incredibly convenient, but many people are killed by car crashes. In fact, in 1965, Ralph Nader wrote a very influential book in the United States called Unsafe at Any Speed about the American automobile. And it argued that it's an unsafe car. Since then, automobiles have become much safer, but still every year, about more than 1 million people get killed worldwide by car crashes. 20 to 50 million are injured or disabled. The annual cost is over $500 billion. For people among ages between 15 and 29, the leading cause of death is automobile accident. And in spite of the book by Ralph Nader, today the car has become safer. The main reason is human error. So if humans are not safe drivers, the conclusion was, let's replace them by machines. So this was the motivation for autonomous driving. Let's replace human driver by machines. So where did it take us? So we have now been working on autonomous driving. Google has launched the project in 2009. Many companies are working on it. In fact, there's been huge investment in autonomous driving. Some estimate is there are over 250 companies in this space: automaker, technology provider, service provider, tech startup. They're all pushing very hard to create the reality of self-driven or driverless car, or as we also say, AVs, autonomous vehicles. There are different estimates how much money has been invested. I've seen estimates as high as $200 billion. A recent article by Bloomberg, a business publication, said autonomous vehicle companies and suppliers have spent about $75 billion on technology with little signs of meaningful returns. So we spend tens of billions of dollars with little signs of meaningful returns. In fact, one of the main companies in this space is Tesla. And just in January, just very recently, we learned the US Department of Justice subpoena documents from Tesla relating to its autopilot and full self-driving software. This confirmed what we have already, there were rumors last year. Reuters reported the Department of Justice launched a criminal probe into Tesla in 2021. And they're focusing again on the autopilot. And because there have been several crashes by Tesla cars using the autopilot, and some of them have been fatal. Criminal investigation. And there are other piece of evidence that show that the reality of autonomous driving is not very good. Again, last October, an article in New York Times, a reporter and a photographer went for a ride in experimental AV. They wrote, it was spooky, impressive, perplexing, and a little stressful. They described, for example, how when it became dark, they hit some nighttime traffic. The car thought there was some accident ahead, so it pulled over to the side. It was a false alarm, but then the car wouldn't move. They couldn't get the car to go again. My ride was over, the reporter wrote. Financial Times, also many things happened last fall. Financial Times, again, talks about how the autonomous vehicles are now in the slow lane. And they wrote, driverless car do not just have to control the mechanics of a vehicle, they have to understand the world around them and make rapid decisions when circumstances change. Driving is not just manipulated. In fact, for experienced driver, the manipulation of a car is done practically when I drive. I kind of do it on automatic. My main attention, my focus is watching the world around me. And the roads are busy and messy. They're full of different users making irrational decisions. Car must not just see the obstacles ahead, but know whether it's about to move, and if so, in what direction. In other words, they need to understand the world. And we are very far from artificial intelligence understanding the world. So now let's talk about AI versus IA. So AI, many people take it, they say the beginning of AI is an influential article by Alan Turing in 1950 about thinking machines, possibility of thinking machines, where he posed the imitation game. So the goal was to have a machine that can imitate a human. In other words, it was about replacing humans by machines. This was the dream of Alan Turing, and then most of computer science follow in that path. But there was a different dream about 250 years earlier, by Gottfried Leibniz, the inventor of the calculus, the co-inventor of the calculus, and he theorized about calculating machines, computing machines, computers, call it calculus ratiocinator, reasoning calculus, and he wrote, mankind will then possess a new instrument that will enhance the capabilities of the mind to a far greater extent than optical instruments threaten the eyes. So this is intelligence augmentation. So these are two very different dreams, replacing humans or augmenting humans. In an article last year, Eric Brynjolfsson from Stanford coined the phrase the Turing trap. And he wrote, an excessive focus on developing and deploying human-level AI can lead us into a trap. When AI is focused on augmenting humans rather than mimicking them, then humans retain a share of the value created. When they are mimicked, when they are substituted, they share nothing. They are replaced by machines. What's more, he wrote, augmentation creates new capabilities and new products and services, ultimately generating far more value than a mere human-like AI. He said, we've been going down the wrong path. We should have been focusing on intelligence augmentation. So let me conclude by talking about the Turing trap of autonomous driving. If you go back and look at my argument for the moral imperative, the moral imperative was to make cars safer, not to automate driving. We fell into the Turing trap and spent tens of billions of dollars chasing a dream that is perpetually just around the corner. But we don't need to think of this investment as a waste. We develop incredibly powerful tool. Let us use the technologies that have been developed, not to replace drivers, but to augment driver. We have the technology to make driving safer, much safer. Let's do it. Thank you very much. Sheshe.